Microsoft just released its list of top 40 jobs most at risk from AI disruption. And if your job is on the list, you need to be paying attention right now. But before we get into the top 40 list, we just want to briefly explain the methodology here. So Microsoft researchers analyzed 200,000 real-world work-related conversations that happened with Bing Copilot. And they cross-referenced them with the US Department of Labor's ONET database. Now, for each occupation, Microsoft calculated a composite-based score on task overlap, task importance, and AI performance quality. And it's important to note that they're looking at where AI is most useful for and most useful today. And keep in mind, things can change. This is certainly a moving target when it comes to predictions. But what I can say, and I think this is really, really important and something that we'll reiterate as we go through this top 40 list, is that just because your job is on this list doesn't mean you're going to be fired tomorrow. But what it does mean is that adaptation is necessary because the disruption, you're basically front of line when it comes to disruption. So let's start here. Number 40 is library science teachers for post-secondary. And I thought this was pretty interesting, and we will see a lot of post-secondary teachers on this list. But what I think is important to note here when it comes to post-secondary is there's more disruption in the market than just AI, although AI plays an important role in this. But what we're seeing here is that, and we've covered this a lot, actually we covered this in a video yesterday, what we're seeing here is that young men and young women that are graduating from college are just not finding the same amount of jobs. The relevancy, the importance of a college education has been reduced. So anyone, I think, that's in a post-secondary job role needs to be kind of considering how they fit in, and will they still get the same government funding? Will the universities still be charging tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars for degrees? So anyway, number 40 is library science teachers for post-secondary. 39 is switchboard operators. Quite frankly, I didn't even know there were switchboard operators anymore, but they're still there. 38, public safety telecommunications, like dispatch. And at first glance, I thought, this is crazy. I'm gonna call 911 and I'm gonna get an AI bot for dispatch. Well, they're already rolling this out in some jurisdictions. They're already piloting these AI-assisted dispatch. And I think that probably what they'll do is there'll be some combination, is there a 911? Is there, based on the level of the emergency, how will AI be routing those calls? But I think that's an interesting thing, something I might go into more detail in a future video. 37, market research analyst. I mean, I gotta say, anyone that's, let's put it this way, if you're researching graphs, charts, tables, stock market, that is the type of stuff that AI is really good at. AI can just review so many millions of data points almost instantly. Search the web, browse the web, look at what's happening with every stock and bond and make predictions. So market research analyst, I think, is definitely one that makes sense to me. Number 36, models. This one kind of surprised me at first, but when you start to think about it, it makes a lot of sense. What do models get paid for? They get paid for their beauty, to promote products, and to wear nice clothes and whatnot. But the reality is that a lot of these models are not going to be necessary anymore because AI-generated video and AI-generated images and AI twins and AI avatars are everywhere. In fact, we covered this in a video a little while ago. AI avatars are absolutely out of control. AI companionships are out of control. There are models, fake AI models on Instagram now that are making tens of thousands of dollars for one post, and they aren't even real. Why is that? Because people engage with them, they like them, anyway, models are in big, big trouble. That being said, there's nothing, if you're beautiful, that's definitely a step up in life. But as far as being a model, think again. Number 35, geographers. So AI is just fantastic at analysis, pattern recognition, satellite interpretation. It's just, I think, and we covered this actually in yesterday's video, I'll post a link to it here, the bottom level, the bottom rung of the career ladder has been completely wiped out. And I think for geographers and a lot of these jobs alike, you're still gonna have experts that play a role. People are still going to hear from experts, but what these experts are gonna do is they're going to stop relying on interns and entry-level workers to perform tasks like reading and analyzing surveys and stuff like that, and do complete surveys. They're just gonna use AI agents to perform those roles for them. You definitely want to check out yesterday's video. We kind of cover that in more detail. But anyway, geographers is the list at 35. 34, management analysts. Not much more to say on this. We already talked about analysis roles. Web developers at 33. Number 32, economics teachers, post-secondary. Again, I think that there's two things happening here. A, college and university diplomas are becoming less and less valuable. And as that happens, you're gonna have less and less teachers in that space, A. And B, what I think is important to note here is that I think students are just gonna start engaging with AI more regularly. I think we already are. You know, you don't feel the need to like, I have to go to school, I have to speak to a teacher. I have a PhD in my pocket when it comes to AI. So economics teachers make the list. Number 31, archivists. At the end of the day, AI is just, and algorithms are really good at classifying, reading, synopsing, surveying. I mean, I have a Zoom assistant that follows me around to all my calls, and it is awesome. It takes phenomenal notes, it summarizes things excellent, and it can easily move things around to the files they need to go. Number 30, personal financial advisors. I think this one is really, really interesting. So, on one hand, the reality is, and we kind of mentioned this earlier, people are using AI more and more to read charts to help them make financial decisions. Like it or not, it's happening. I use AI sometimes when I'm in the middle of a decision. But here's what's interesting, and I just want to kind of lay this out, because there was a time in my life where I was thinking about getting into becoming a certified financial planner. Here's the thing. People are going to be using AI to help make decisions and be more educated, like just in the medical field, but also in finances. But what they are going to want is they're going to want a trusted human being they can shake a hand with, they're face to face. There's an emotional connection. So if you are in the financial industry world, you got to lean into that. And I know, guys, I know there's this push to try to automate everything and create a AI digital twin. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do those things at all. However, do not lose the importance and do not fail to understand the importance of that human connection. If I was in financial planning, that would 100% be something I would really, really lean into, is that personal planning. 29, data scientists. 28, counter and rental clerks. I think this is an interesting one. You might say, well, you know, what am I, guys, you already know this. When you go to kiosks, when you go to like the airport, for example, you go to a rental booth, you don't need to speak to a human anymore. You just scan your barcode, your QR code, you type in your last name, and you don't really need a human being at the rental counter. 27, statistical assistants. Number 26, new account clerks. Pretty broad there, but again, it kind of comes down to the same thing. Like in a lot of cases, there used to be a human being there that needed to, like, what's your name? Let me take your order. Here's your keys. Here's your pass, et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot of that is just not necessary anymore. You have a phone, you have a smartphone, you've got a QR code, you scan it, you get your stuff out of the locker, it's handed over. I mean, heck, the other day I was at 7-Eleven. There was a line of about 10 people waiting to check out with the clerk, and I said, I went over to the self-checkout, scanned my bananas and my coffee, and I was gone. I saved myself 15 minutes. I mean, this is happening all over the place. You go to McDonald's. Have you done self-checkout at McDonald's? Type in the comments below if you've done this before. Guys, I was in McDonald's in Orlando. This was a year ago. I went through the self-checkout, but I just typed in what I wanted, purchased my stuff. It gave me a little key card or a little counter thing. Went back to my table, sat down, and a robot brought out my meal for me and my kids. That was a year ago. This is going to be all over the place. And frankly, it already is. Heck, you can go to Steak and Shake and you can buy a milkshake with Bitcoin. So without, again, ever engaging with a human being. Again, this is another trend that we're seeing on this list, is we don't actually need that human point contact for a lot of different scenarios. Although I will say, I think for high cost type of situations, you are probably going to want someone. More on that in a moment. Just hold on to that. 25, advertising sales agents. Number 24, demonstrators and product promoters. And we kind of talked about this a little bit when it comes to models, but you're already seeing this. Like when I go on YouTube TV or I go on YouTube, a ton of the ads I'm seeing for products and services and all kinds of stuff is just AI generated video. Are you seeing this? Because it is all over the place already. You're just not gonna need, there's a lot of reasons why this is, I think, a good thing to someone who's in the advertising industry and marketing industry, but regardless, AI avatars are just are really, really good, guys. I mean, very, very effective. 23, public relations specialists. Number 22, business teachers, post-secondary. Again, we covered education. Education is such an interesting one because you think of human-to-human connection being important, but for reasons mentioned before, I think kids are less likely to really need that person there, you know? And again, university diplomas are worth much less now than they were in the past. The college graduate unemployment rate has increased by about 50% since last year, so that's a problem. 21, editors. This is, and quick side note here, I came from a business background. My first business was, I had an editing business. My team would edit podcasts and social media posts and video for clients. But what ended up happening was, you know, most all my clients were just like, Mark, we don't need you because the AI tools and the AI software out there can do almost all the editing for us. So yeah, editors beware. Number 20, hosts and hostesses. Again, we already covered this, AI reservation systems, ticket counters, that sort of thing. You're just not gonna need hosts and hostesses there. Again, for higher priced, higher ticket, I think that hosts and hostesses will still have a role. Next on our list here is proofreaders and copy makers. Proofreaders and copy makers. Again, same kind of deal that we talked about. You know, AI is just really good at reading. You know, do you have spell check? You know, this is an interesting thing. Back in the day, you know, if you watch Mad Men, for example, you can see they had all these young women who were typing, and you don't need that anymore. You know, you don't need people on typewriters anymore doing whiteout, make sure they get every letter correct. You know, this is, you know, proofreading is just something that AI can do very, very, very well. 18, technical writers. Have you used AI to write something? Now, I think, guys, in a lot of cases, the writing that we get from artificial intelligence, you can tell when something's been written with AI. But I find, at least personally, that AI can get me 80% of the way there. And if I go in and put a human touch, I can bring it the rest of the way there. 17, mathematicians. 16, news analysts, reporters, journalists. This is something I touched on a couple days ago on why the creator economy is cooked. And there's 2 points I want to make here. So first off is that the old model of, well, I'm going to get a job at a news station or from a media outlet is completely broken. And in that video, I'll post a link to it here, even people like Piers Morgan, for example, he's not on cable television anymore. He has a YouTube channel and he has total control. He makes his own money. So the whole idea of being a news analyst or reporter has been completely democratized. I mean, I think of Nick Shirley, for example, who just had this mega viral video about fraud in Minneapolis. I mean, the kid he's a kid with he had one videographer and one security guard. And he had a video that reached hundreds of millions of people, billions of people by now. He doesn't have an outlet. People asked him, who are you with? He's like, I'm with myself. I'm just me. So that whole dynamic is changing, A. And B, which I also covered in that video the other day, is that AI slop, AI avatars are really, really dominating the space. It makes it much harder to stand out. So at any rate, I think that's something that makes it really interesting. It's also worth noting that I think a lot of less people actually watch the news, although I do think people appreciate a personality. Anyway, that's probably an entire video in and of itself, covering news analysts, reporters, and journalists, but I think that's an interesting one. 15, political scientists. They analyze polling, they look at policy outcomes, trends. Do you put any weight on pollsters anymore? I don't know that I actually do. I mean, I guess it's somewhat interesting, but AI can just as easily read graphs and charts and make deductions from that. Not to mention that it seems like, at least nowadays, the pollsters never know what the heck's going on when it comes to what's happening. Although I will say, one of the interesting things that has really popped up over the past year, which you're probably aware of, are polling, more like gambling sites like Polymarket, where people are actually putting their money behind what they think is going to happen. And I think that's probably more accurate than just taking a random survey of people. Have you actually ever I've been called before to be asked if I want to take 10 minutes to do a poll? The answer is always no. So who are the people that actually answer those pollsters? I don't know. Now, if you get people actually putting money behind it, I think there's more weight. Side note, don't bet, don't gamble. It's not a good look, guys. Next on our list, Concierge. They provide recommendations, bookings, local guidance at hotels. Again, this is a thing that I think is basically going to be dead for any sort of entry-level type of hotel stays. However, if you're staying at like the Four Seasons or the Gaylord or something, someone really nice, you're probably still going to have a concierge there because people are going to still put a value on that human-to-human contact at a higher price point where you need a little bit more personal touch. Telemarketers at number 13. Telemarketing is essentially dead. AI call bots, AI chatbots are taking over the place. More on that in just a moment. Farm and home management educators at number 12. Number 11, brokerage clerks. Number 10, broadcast announcers and radio DJs. This is, again, radio has been basically made completely obsolete by the internet, by the democratization of the internet. Most people listen to Spotify or watch YouTube like you. By the way, if you're new here, like and subscribe. If you're still watching, I'm posting videos like this 6 days a week, so make sure you like, subscribe. So anyway, that's number 10 on their list. Number 9, ticket agents and travel clerks. We've already covered that. Same rule. People are just going to bring in their app, scan it, get their stuff, and get out. Number 8, telephone operators. Number 7, CNC Tool Programmers. And essentially, AI can already generate, optimize, and simulate CNC code. So, do I think that job is gone? No, but I think there's going to be far less of them. Number 6, customer service representatives. We've covered this in detail. I think this is a really interesting one. I'll post a link to a video here. Salesforce recently announced that they were laying off half of their customer service reps. And why? Because they said that their AI agents could handle that work. Now, what's interesting is a few months later, it was reported that they were having quality control issues. So I'm still kind of watching that closely, but customer service is in a really interesting place. If I was in a call center, I would very much be spending my after hours time learning new skills. Frankly, anyone everywhere should be learning new skills right now. It's very important. Number 5, writers and authors. Number 4, sales representatives of services. Guys, more and more sales are being outsourced. In my opinion, if you're not in high ticket sales, you are in no ticket sales. Like high ticket sales, B2B, good place to be. Anything that's an inexpensive offer sale, it's going to be fully automated, digitalized. It's going to be, if you're not in high ticket sales, you're cooked basically. Number 3, passenger attendants. I find this one is kind of interesting. I think you're still going to have flight attendants on flights, but I just think that there's a lot of small things that can be taken care of by AI chatbots and digital avatars, things of that nature. However, I think when it comes to flights, there's still going to be safety regulations that play a role. Number 2, historians. I thought that was an interesting one to include on there. Number 1 on the list of the top 40 most effective occupations by generative AI is interpreters and translators. And that should not be a surprise to any of us. We had an interesting video, I'll post a link to it here a little while ago. Duolingo actually fired a ton of their contractors because they're using AI to teach people how to speak. Another video that we covered a little while ago was Meta goggles. AI Meta glasses now come equipped with built-in translation tools. So you can see a little subtitles in the actual screen of your glasses, which is really, really, really slick. You know, it's just, I think, and honestly, people sometimes ask, well, what good does AI actually do? I think that being able to translate is amazing. My wife is 100% Polish. I visited Poland several times, and I'm just not able to communicate with her family quite as well as I'd like. But imagine if they had AI glasses, we could actually have a conversation, get to know each other better, and I think that would be a really positive thing. Guys, if you like today's video, and even if you don't, put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your insights on where you think things are going. And if you want to go deeper with me, you could always go to my website at aiupdate.ai. Lots of cool stuff over there, so check that out. In the meantime, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Make it a great day. All right, peace.